going, people? Today I'm going to be talking about the Star Wars prequels on 4K Ultra HD. I actually got the box set of all of the Skywalker Saga, so that pretty much means, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but that means that you're pretty much getting every Star Wars film but two. You're not getting Solo and Rogue One. And that means that you might have to purchase them separately if you want them. And I do have to say that I actually reviewed the worst from the best Star Wars film in a separate video. You can check that out right over here. But I didn't give them a number grade. And so, since I'm so big on number grades, why don't I do that right here before I get into the video quality? And what I will say is, in my mind, and this is just me, so don't go crazy on me, I would say that The Phantom Menace gets a 4 out of 5 in my book, and Attack of the Clones actually gets a 3 out of 5. That movie is pretty bad in my book. And then you go way up with Episode 3, and I would actually give that a 7 out of 10. So, without any other further ado, let's get to what we actually are here for. Let's talk about the video quality of these films. And as far as these go, the actual filming of these movies is a lot more entertaining than the actual movies themselves. So, Phantom Menace was actually shot on 35mm and on a Sony Cinalta. So that is a early HD Sony digital camera. And Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith were both shot all digitally on that Sony Cinalta camera, 1080p. So basically what you have is the Phantom Menace being a mixture of film and digital camera work, and the later two just being straight digital. So, with that being said, I feel like in The Phantom Menace, you can definitely still tell the scenes that were shot digitally and the scenes that were shot on film. I feel like the digital scenes just have a softer appearance to them. This is before George Lucas should have been shooting in HD. I know he wanted to push the technology, but I don't really feel like they knew enough about the technology to really know its strengths and weaknesses. And this is why you never want to be the first to do something like this, because you shoot something that looks like this. So there is just a wider difference between the HD and the film scenes here. I feel like the film scenes are a lot more darker and have a little bit more detail to them, and I feel like the digital scenes just feel very soft, and they just have a very early digital appearance to them. Detail work does take a hit on The Phantom Menace also in the HD scenes because of the fact that there is just such softness and tampering here that it's just, there's very little detail to be had that is different. And what I will say is this very much looks like the digital stream of this film and what it looked like on Blu-ray, because there were definitely the same issues here. And you know what? With HDR, at least you get upgraded color palette and a lot more brighter colors. The lightsaber battles definitely look great. I just feel like that much is a home run here, but beyond that, I have to give this a 6 out of 10. This is troubling, to say the least. Attack of the Clones, like I said, was shot all digitally. And again, these have the same problems as the Blu-rays and the digital streams that you can see on Disney+. It feels very soft. You can definitely feel a lot of digital tampering here, and you get a lot of aliasing, and it is messy. You got so much detail in those original trilogies with just the ships, and specifically facial features here take a big hit. They just feel very, very soft. This movie has always looked this way, and now that Disney owns it, I feel like they just want to bury it. And I don't really feel like they're going to give it the love that it would need to look at its best. And HDR definitely does liven things up a bit. You know, you get an upgraded color palette here, but it can't save this. It can't. So I'm also going to give this a 6 out of 10, just for different reasons. Just because something is more consistent, it doesn't help for it to be consistently bad. And as far as Revenge of the Sith goes, though, I have always liked how this movie looked. I have always felt like when they were shooting this movie, they understood the technology a lot more, and they were just a lot more confident, and you can see it. Clarity is great here, and as far as depth of field goes, it is largely stepped up from the previous 2 prequels. It is awesome here, and you just get a lot of and you just got a lot of clear, very crisp edges here. This is what you guys want out of this film. And as far as detail goes, you can see quite a bit of detail in facial features, and definitely it comes back in just the backgrounds, the backdrops, and the spaceships, a lot of that. And, when you are just looking at a lot of people's attire in the wardrobe, it all returns here the way that you want to see it. Along with that, you have the HDR here that is fan-freaking-tastic. This is the best HDR with the prequels, and it is the only one that really warrants me going into specifics about. The reds on Mustafar are just fantastic. I really got into this movie again because of the way that this movie looked in 4K. I really did like the lightsaber battles here. They all just really popped, and just the overall color palette here, it just pops off the screen, oozes off the screen in 4K. And that's why I would actually give this an 8 out of 10. I feel like there are some things from the prequels that are just looming in this movie's background as far as things that were wrong with how they filmed it, but this looks a lot better. And getting into the audio here, all of these sound the same. They all sound great. They have Dolby Atmos, and they utilize it. I love the sound design that Lucas has. George Lucas is a technician, even more than he is a filmmaker. And it definitely shows, though, with the sound design. Ben Burtt did the sound design here, along with the original trilogy. He is great. He is sorely, sorely missed in the sequel trilogy that Disney puts out. Bass response is the star of the show. It is absolutely outstanding. Whenever the Imperial ship comes over your head, it is just awe-inspiring in every way. Not just visually, but specifically with the audio and the bass response. Phenomenal. You hear it in your height speakers, you hear it in the subwoofer, and with the amount of time that audio has progressed over the years since the original trilogy, yeah, you feel that here. You feel that being more refined, and I love it. Speaker separation is even better than in the original trilogy. It is outstanding. Outstanding. Surrounds get a heavy workout, specifically in Revenge of the Sith. I noticed it the most there. And height speaker work is better here. You can hear it a lot more clearly when ships go overhead and with the dogfights, and specifically during the end battles. I feel like the end battles, specifically for these three films, they just go all out, and you can hear the height speaker work in those battles. So this is great. Great atmos. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Not so reference quality. I would want more work in the height speakers for that, but still, this is just great, great stuff. And as far as the digital copies here goes, I said this in the original Saga reviews, these are going to be all in HD, not in 4K. They are given a Movies Anywhere digital code, but they're just not in 4K. If you want this in 4K digitally, you're going to have to go to Disney Plus for that. They've made sure of that. And as we get into the special features here, all special features are just on the Blu-ray special feature disc, but you get everything that was on the previous Blu-ray version, and there is a whole lot. You get the audio commentaries, you get all featurettes, and stills, theatrical trailers, the whole shebang is here, and it is great. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. You could not really ask for anything more other than these just being on the 4K disc. And as my last looks at the prequel trilogy, I do feel like the focus of these films just shouldn't have been on a lot of the politics. It's boring. And I was bored through a lot of these movies up until Revenge of the Sith. And that's just how I feel about this. It's the exact definition of unnecessary. And it is where my fandom as a kid growing up, my Star Wars obsession kind of waned. It was when I was growing up as a person and I was able to realize, hey, this is an inferior product. And yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. And as for my final scores here, for the original trilogy, the scores for those films kind of were the same, but with these, they're just not the case. So The Phantom Menace gets a 28 out of 40, and Attack of the Clones gets a 27 out of 40, and that is because of the fact that the video quality and the actual quality of the movies themselves are pretty bad. And Revenge of the Sith actually got up to a 33 out of 40. That is because of the fact that the movie is a little better than the previous two. And the video quality is a little better than the previous two. It just feels a lot more refined and a lot more confident. And yeah, that's just kind of how I felt about this. But how did you feel about it? Comment down below, let me know. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't even say it because you know it. And I will see all of you next time.